And good morning. I am Tamara Scott. Thanks for joining us at Truth for Our Time, and we're powered by webcast1live.com. Webcast1live.com. Send that out to your friends. Actually, I meant to do a tweet. Maybe I'll try and multitask here in a minute and send a tweet out. Let everybody know we're here. It's good to be back. As you know, last week we played an encore performance, and my thanks to Ryan Northfield, our producer, who does such a great job of putting everything together for us and fixing all the things behind scene when we're on air. But if you watched last week, the show that we did was a great one with several parents right here in Iowa concerned about the Common Core. And it's good discussion, good for you to go back and view. But the text at the bottom said I was out of town because I was now a grandma. My first grandchild was born last week, and it was just a great joy to get to be there and be part of that. And as those of you who are grandparents know, it's a whole new phase of life. And I'm looking forward to that, to praying and pouring into this grandchild of mine. And if you're a grandma out there, I hope you're taking your responsibility like Timothy. Timothy's grandmother prayed for him, and Timothy talks about the power of a praying grandma and what ability you have. I was just talking to another friend. These moms are so busy. There is so much on them. So many of them have to work outside the home, or if they're in the home all the time, that can be so much weight to be a mom inside the home, not getting out to have adult conversations, just to get out to the store, just to get out to do things. And what an important task it is. There is nothing more important than you will do than being a mom, to raise the children that God gave you, to be their advocate, to understand them, to teach them. And there's nothing you're not qualified to do with your children, whether that's educating them, teaching them to read, teaching them their morals, teaching them to have fun, to relax, to enjoy life. That is your call. If you've been given parents, what a privilege. If you've been given children, what a privilege it is to be parents. And you need to take that responsibly. But we were talking, these moms don't have time. And so us grandmas, we have a little bit more time now. And so we may just start the go-go grandmas and be out there busy doing stuff and getting things done as we are at the state capitol here. Joining me in studio, I'm very pleased, Scott Russell. You've heard that name before on this show. Usually we're talking about the Common Core, and today we'll talk about the Common Core as well. We have a few people who will be calling in. Meg Norris. Meg is the teacher who quit teaching because of the Common Core. She realized she could do more to stop it, to protect her children, than she could in the classroom, with her hands tied in the teaching aspect, but seeing all the things that were happening to her children, the pulling out of their hair, the cutting, the depression, the frustration. And so we'll be talking and hearing from her as well. If you're listening from around the nation or around the globe, and you have stories about Common Core, you want to update us what's happening in your neck of the woods, we want to hear it. 855-244-0077 is the number. 855-244-0077. Call in. Let us know what's happening in your state. We know that 30 plus states are now in the process, have legislation in their state houses to repeal, reject, pause, move away from the Common Core or the testing consortiums, whether that's PARC, Partners for Assessments of Readiness for College and Career, I think it is, or Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium. So we know that that's already happening. And so we'll be hearing from some of those folks today. So Scott Russell in studio, and I've always introduced you as an Ankeny dad.
Correct.
Which is probably the most noble title you could have.
I would agree.
But how would you like me
and
to...
father and husband.
That's right. That's right. For me, I often introduce myself as, how is it I say it? Mother to 4, mother-in-law to 3. How was it? Yes. Grandparent to 1, soon to be 2, and wife of 1.
Exactly.
So...
Well, how about today you could introduce me, or I will introduce myself as Scott Russell, Troop Master of Troop 19 of the 1st Trail Life USA unit in Iowa.
Trail Life USA. You are the first one in Iowa.
The very first chartered troop in Iowa.
Now, are there more? Have there been more around other states?
If you go to Trail Life USA and look at the troop locator, the country is peppered with basically little pins of where all the troops are starting up. So I don't know the number, but I think it's something like 500 different troops now have started all
Okay.
across the United States.
Time out. 500.
500.
Trail Life USA dot
TrailLifeUSA.com, I believe.
.com.
Yeah. So you can't, if you just Google Trail Life USA, you're going to find it. We have a local troop site.
And that is traillifeankeny.weebly, WEEBLY.com. And I'll try and put that on the chat line here as well. Okay, 500. When did this all happen? I know it was in response to the Boy Scouts falling off the ledge.
Good way to say that. Well, so let me answer the question first. When did it start and how did it start? Really, there is a faction of leaders and parents from Boy Scouts that as the Boy Scouts changed their membership policies, they wanted more of a Christian-based approach.
Which it used to be. That's what Boy Scouts used to be.
They will say it's still God-centered, but it's pretty vague in my opinion. So how Trail Life USA started is, as that membership policy came about and was going to change January 1 of 2014, is when the Boy Scouts membership policy changed to allow homosexual boys. This group basically pulled together and had their first national convention in September of 2013 in Nashville. Only 90 days before that did a group of people come together to form the official Trail Life USA. 90 days later, over 1,200 people from 44 states showed up in Nashville for the first Trail Life USA National Convention. So in 90 days, they had pulled together 1,200 people, had a convention. Mike Huckabee spoke at it. They actually pulled the lead attorney from Boy Scouts of America to come work for Trail Life USA. And he came and spoke at that convention. And what was really amazing is he said 11 years ago, God called him to go work for Boy Scouts. And if you would have asked him 60 days before that September convention in Nashville, would he be here? He said, yeah, I thought I'd be here. I thought I'd be here as a spy to see what was going on with this Trail Life USA. He's like, little did I know God had other plans, and now I work for you.
How exciting. First off, I want people to understand to have 1,200 people show up for an established organization is amazing.
Yeah.
And Huckabee is a draw. I understand that. But there had to be other reasons.
We didn't know he was going to be there.
There you go. I was going to say there had to be other reasons that people came. That is truly amazing.
They asked everybody to stand up. They said, if you were a former Boy Scout leader in the room, stand up. The entire 3-tiered section of a large hotel all stood up. It was 1,200 people. So you're really taking a moral-centered base from Boy Scouts, in my opinion. And I have a lot of friends still in Boy Scouts and have a warm place in my heart for Boy Scouts. I hate to see that.
It's that patriotic, nostalgic, trustworthy group.
Exactly. But when you see 1,200 people stand, when they said, please stand if you're breaking off of Boy Scouts to start this new organization, the entire room stood. I mean, it was just filled with people. So this organization has a solid moral foundation of leaders that are really starting it off. So that's how it's rapidly growing.
And here's my concern. Boy Scouts didn't have to capitulate their values.
They did not.
The courts had ruled.
The 2000 Supreme Court ruling, I think it was Boy Scouts versus Dale, gave the right of association to any group to meet, inform, and have like beliefs.
And it wasn't that they just allowed homosexual boys in. Of course, if you're anything centered in ministry or helping young men develop, we want all, I think that would be understandable. But the fact that they gave on principles when they didn't have to was a concern for most of us.
It was really the open and avowed statement that really changed it. Boy Scouts did not discriminate against homosexuals.
Ever.
They were never not allowed to join. There was more of a don't ask, don't tell. But when it became openly avowed, meaning we accept it, it's a behavior that's normal, you can be open and avowed and practice that. And it took away the rights of, like myself, I was a Boy Scout leader, the ability to go counsel a boy and say, right, you're practicing a behavior that is sinful in nature. All Boy Scout leaders and Boy Scouts, everybody was sinful except for Jesus. So you should be able to counsel a boy, but Boy Scouts in essence took that ability away, and that was the piece that I really had to step away. If I could have counseled a boy that's behaving in a sinful way, and had that ability as a leader to say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. But the Boy Scouts, in essence, said, it's not wrong. It's normal behavior. It's accepted behavior. You're welcome here. And that became very difficult for me to operate that way.
And for anyone listening, if you at all think that this is hateful, I want you to take a step back and understand that you might be getting wrong information. Galatians, I think it's 4:16 says, have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? It's not hateful to speak truth unless you hate the truth. And to help a young man live in a healthy way according to God's word is not hateful. Scott, if you had someone who was a liar or a cheater or a young boy on drugs or a young boy on alcohol, I assume that your policy, that Boy Scouts policy, wouldn't have been, we accept this behavior as normal.
Correct. You obviously, right, would help counsel and mentor and guide that boy. Yeah, absolutely.
And so to be saying that we're going to allow something to continue that could be dangerous, that could have complications down the road, that's just not. And for those of you who say, but this is the way they're born, we don't have any scientific proof of that. We don't have any medical proof of that. But even if we did, even if you had, let's say, alcoholism, can now they think you can be at higher risk if you had a parent who was an alcoholic. And we don't say, let's make alcohol more acceptable so that it's not so bad if you have an accident on the way to work or put others at risk. It's not, we don't try to make it more accessible so that these kids can get it when they're in school, or lower the drinking age because obviously these kids are struggling.
Right.
So why would we do that with other behaviors other than it's been politicized? And if you're not understanding this, you've been politicized and desanitized.
Yeah, I really had to do, when I made the decision to leave Boy Scouts. So I, as myself, was a scout. I made it all the way up to Star Scout. And then, I always tell the story that when my boys were, first grade-ish, and I went into an area and saw a sign up for Boy Scouts, become a leader. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Boy Scouts. So I jumped in and became a leader. So I've got 10 years as being a scout, 10 plus years as being a leader. So to walk away from that, I have an older son who's an Eagle Scout, and he just got his Eagle Scout last year. So I was a committed scout family and leader. So to make that decision to walk away, I had to do exactly what you mentioned. I had to go and do my own research. I spent several weeks Googling the topic of, is it birth or is it choice? And I could not uncover anything that really scientifically said you're born this way. So then I had to turn over and say, okay, so let me see what does the Bible have to say about homosexuality? And a failure of mine, I haven't read the Bible. I go to church regularly, but I don't memorize the scripture, and I haven't ever read the Bible. So I had to turn to it and try to get more into the Word and find out what it said. And it's very clear, Tamara. I mean, I didn't know this until I started reading it. And you read Romans 1, and it's scary what it says about it. And it pretty soon then what I had to do is say, okay, there's no scientific proof that you were born this way. And if I choose to endorse this as a normal behavior, I'm really going against now my religious beliefs. And I'm basically saying God is wrong, which I'm like, I can't do that. And if I can't stay in the organization and counsel and mentor boys for sinful behavior, then I need to leave. And that's the decision I made. So you're absolutely right, and I appreciate you saying that. I'm not a hater of homosexuals.
No.
I'm a sinner myself, so
Absolutely.
I don't need people to hate me. And I don't hate. I have friends that are homosexuals, and I work with people, and I enjoy those working relationships. So I really just had to make that physical choice to break off and start something that was more grounded in my belief. And what we're doing in Ankeny, Iowa, is just that. We're just trying to go back to what the Supreme Court said. We have a group of people with like beliefs that want to form an organization to raise godly fathers, boys, turn them into husbands, and be great citizens in a community, and just do it around a Christian-centered, Jesus-centered organization, period. And this is going to be an outdoor, adventure-based masculine program where fathers are helping raise boys, period. It has nothing to do with discrimination. We ask that people sign a statement of faith. The statement of faith would be that, you're a Christ-centered believer. You believe in Jesus Christ, that you believe marriage is between a man and a woman, and you believe sex should be reserved for inside a marriage. Now, I would venture to say that at some point in Trail's life history, we're going to have boys break those covenants and maybe do some experimentation outside of marriage. They're sinners. Does that mean we kick them out, or does that mean we counsel them, right?
Right.
Those are the decisions that as a society we have to counsel and we have to mentor and we have to raise our boys. So I'm willing to take on that challenge, but I'm not willing to turn my blind eye to what I believe is sinful nature and condone it as normal, accepted behavior.
You're absolutely right. You've made some really good points, and I may be making notes on your points. I want to come back to a couple of them. For those of you who may be saying, that's not my God, how could God be so hateful if people are this way or they're having this inclination? My God's a loving God. And your God isn't what you make up in your mind. The God is who he is. I am. From the beginning, before the world was created, he was the Word. The Word was made flesh through Jesus Christ, but God is, I am that I am. And you don't get to remake him, redesign him, or pretend he's something that he's not. He is a just God. And if there's one thing God can't do, he can't lie. And he said in his word that he will hold people accountable. Our only way to get past that is through Jesus Christ, forgiveness of our sins. The one sacrifice, about the Old Testament is full of sacrifice for our sins, atonement for our sins. So you needed that pure blood, that animal without sin, and that we always think of a spotless lamb. Jesus Christ was that spotless lamb that died for us. But because God is a God of free will, you have to accept Jesus Christ to forgive you of your sins. Very easy to do. All you do is ask him into your heart. There's no work that you have to do. You don't have to go somewhere. There's not a penance you have to pay. That's the beauty of the sacrifice. And so because God gave that sacrifice of his own son, he knew the pain of giving his own son so that we might have that freedom, then he understands also, if that's the price, Jesus Christ paying your debt, then that's the only way you get in. I think it's John 14:6 maybe, that says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one enters heaven but through me. And so that is the only way, is through Jesus Christ. And so if you think you're just going to make God out to whatever you want him to be, He's set the parameters. They're very simple. It's not something you have to work your way into. It's not like the Islamic faith where you don't know, you can never know, and you have to have jihad to have your security or your guarantee. All you do is ask Jesus to forgive you and then try and live. And then you brought up, if these boys fall, we all fall, Scott, every day. We have that fallen nature. Yeah. That's why sin is so prevalent. And each of us are going to sin. When we walk out of here today, we'll have a bad thought, and we forget about that. But the thoughts, the word tells us, are just as wrong. And that's why our founding fathers knew we needed Christianity as the basis for our foundation. Whatever made men better Christians made them better civil citizens. And so we learn to control those thoughts, whether it's hatred, envy, greed, just dislike for someone. And so we work at that every day. It's not hypocrisy, it's training. And Absolutely. That's why it's so important. So you hear people say today, we're headed the wrong direction. They're in such despair. And I've come to the realization about the last week and a half, it's not that people are just simply apathetic. It's that they really don't think they have input. They don't think they have control, whether it's political, whether it's society. In our schools right now, we have a anti-bullying bill at the State House. It is a horrible bill. Let me say this, a horrible bill. Not that it's not that I'm pro-bullying. Someone said that to me, Tamara, are you for bullying? Obviously not. But the bill itself will hurt Christian families. It will hurt religious freedom. It will put parents in peril. Because as we're saying, every student's going to have fallen nature. Every child's going to mess up from time to time. This will allow schools to go after parents if your kid just says something wrong. And the thing is, it's not what they say, it's how somebody else interprets or decides to be offended by what they say. When have we ever had laws or punishments available on that whim? How dangerous is that? Because what you say to me today may be okay. Come with me. 8th grade girls, catty, mean 8th grade girls in middle school. What you say at a slumber party, whatever, 2 days later, they're not friends anymore, and now it's an offense. you're putting everyone in jeopardy. This is a bad bill. It gives the superintendents the authority to go into the cyberspace world, which they now blame for bullying. Tell me, we've had bullying all around forever, as long as we've known. It's gotten worse after 62. We took the Bible out. We've been groping ever since for something to replace it. And now those who demand we don't have it in the classroom are demanding we pay for the consequence of removing it. And that's what this bill is, a consequence of removing it. And it's going to be costly. They want to pay for training. And like I said, the superintendents will have authority outside the school districts, not something we want, not something they want. They really don't have time, energy to be responsible for that as well. So if you want, that's just a side note, in Iowa, call your legislators, email your legislators. It's always their first name dot last name at legis, Legis, .iowa, IOWA.gov. First name dot last name at legis.iowa.gov. And 515-281-3221 is the House, I think, is where you're going to have to deal with that right now. I think it's already unfortunately passed the Senate. Didn't mean to take that segue, Scott, but it fit in.
No, it's a good point, because it shows the complication of some of the issues that we're dealing with in society today, in cultural and morals and values. And to your point, who isn't against bullying, right? So it goes back to, how do you raise your kids? And the issue of trail life is divisive even among churches. The Boy Scout troop that I was associated with, which was a Baptist church in Ankeny, did not agree to recharter the Boy Scout troop. So they had to find a new home because the church thought the Boy Scout new membership guidelines were not aligned with their beliefs. The troop, or the church, First Church of Christ in Ankeny, that did charter Trail Life USA, also used to charter a Boy Scout group. And I hesitate to use the words kicked out, but in essence, that's kind of what happens. The church basically says, I'm sorry, we can't charter you, you can't meet here because your membership policies don't align with our religious beliefs. So I'm very fortunate that First Church of Christ, and we met with them, and they were eager to tell the Boy Scout troop that they had chartered, if you want to switch over and become a Trail Life unit, you're welcome to stay. But there was just some decisioning and a lot of decisions that families have to make in that area. So that troop actually decided to move out, and that left an opening, and I had found out about it. That church reached out to me. So the First Church of Christ in Ankeny will actually have our open house for Trail Life USA on the 24th of March at 7 p.m.
Oh,
and I'm going to go ahead and give the address here, if I have it.
310 Northwest Ash Drive, Ankeny.
Yep.
310 Northwest Ash Drive, Ankeny, First Church of Christ, March 24th, 7 p.m. We've got to go to a break. We'll be right back. I'm with Scott Russell. We're talking about Trail Life USA. You can go to traillifeusa.com, and we're powered by webcast1live.com, and we'll be right back with you in just a moment.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
And thanks for joining us. I am Tamara Scott. You're listening to Tamara Scott Live with Truth for Our Time today. And joining me in studio is Scott Russell, an Ankeny dad, who is the first founder of a Trail Life USA group here in Iowa.
Correct.
Ankeny, Iowa. And Ryan, do we have the? Oh, I'm sorry. I have Ryan multitasking, and I'm asking him to do more. Can you? Let's go ahead. Is that Trailblazer?
Trail Life,
Trail
a little
Life?
1 minute clip, I think is what you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
While he's looking for that, I can give you a little bit about Trail Life while
Yes.
you're looking it up, Ryan,
Yes,
and just
perfect.
chime in when you're ready. So I was talking over break that Trail Life is really a outdoor character, youth-based program. So when you think about what that means we will have different basically grouping of kids depending on your ages. So from kindergarten through 5th grade, there's a woodland group, and they will basically be learning skills that will be associated with them throughout their life. And then you move up into navigators, and navigators is really your 6th through 8th grade boys. So we'll group them by appropriate age. And then you get to your adventurers, which are really your 9th through 12th grade boys. And then there's a guide-on group, which is really a group that could be college age. And you would think about
What a great idea.
yeah, when you think about how to teach those boys, we'll grab them when they're little and let them have fun and activities and learn different type of skills. So knot tying and outdoor type stuff and walking on trails. As they get older, and this is where it gets exciting for me, because I grew up in Colorado and I grew up skiing and backpacking, and I'm a rock climber and I'm a fisherman, and you drop me outdoors and I'm in heaven. So I think I was born in the wrong generation. So I can't wait to get a group of boys and get them to the point where they have the skills where we can go on canoe trips and we can go on backpacking trips and we can go on rock climbing trips. So in Ankeny, my gut says we're going to start with grade school age. So I'm needing those families and parents to come to the open house on the 24th, and let's figure out what association of boys we end up with. Maybe we'll end up with the group from the woodlands, the navigators, and the adventurers, and we'll get 3 units started all at once. If we just get one, then we'll start with one. So I'm excited to see where it goes and just how fast it's going to grow.
Good for you. And you made a comment. You talked about
Masculine outdoor program, yes.
Today is the day I cannot speak, which is a problem when you do radio, apparently, and TV or whatever we're doing right now. I've done it all, but this is the problem we're dealing with: the effeminization of men. And it's not that we want brutes, it's not that we want chauvinistic men, but I think women are looking for men who are confident, capable, and able of being in a relationship, not to lord over them, but to honor them, as the Bible suggests, and help around the house. Do those. You talked about tying knots. I mean, I know boys who can't dig a hole. They don't know how to dig a hole. They don't know how to get their hands dirty, change the oil in the car. Remember in the 50s and 60s, that's what boys did all day long.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Well, including when you go camping, guess what? You've got to do dishes. And as leaders, we're not doing the dishes. The boys will do the dishes. So it's all sorts of independent life skills, but it's to the point that your mentors in Trail Life, the majority of those will likely come from men. So what an opportunity to get men more involved in raising their children.
Yes.
And taking that active part, and for boys to see what it's like to really see a figure of a man act as a man. And by a man, this comes from Robert Lewis, Raising a Modern Day Knight, and I taught some classes through our church over this, but the definition of a man has nothing to do with how tall you are, how strong you are, can you cuss and swear and drink,
Right.
and, the old movie stigma of a man. A man has everything to do with, are you courageous? Do you accept responsibility? And do you reject passivity? And, how many dads, do we always hear that, I'll do that later. And I just think of myself with the remote, right? You can turn the TV on, you can just become passive and check out. There's so much that your wife wants you to be courageous and stand up and be a leader. So to be courageous, to be a leader and reject passivity is everything in trail life that I want to instill upon these boys so they grow up to be men. And if they can do that, then they can be great fathers and husbands and community leaders.
Because we all know we're headed the wrong direction. We want things to somehow go back as they were in the 50s or the 60s, and not every aspect, I understand that. But we understand that the broken families is not the right trail. We understand that for kids, two parents, biological parents in the home is the best thing for them. Studies show it. Science reveals it. The media just keeps denying it.
Yeah.
That's all we can say about that. So this is one of those great programs that I think will help with that. We have Meg Norris, I think, on the phone, and I'd like to bring her into the conversation. You have been following the Common Core
Hi,
battle.
Meg.
Scott, you've been so active in this in Iowa. Meg, are you with us?
I am.
Thank you so much for taking time out to join us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm going to change earphones because I'm not hearing you, so hang on just a minute. Actually, you can talk to Scott while I'm doing that. Tell us what's happening in Georgia.
Oh, Georgia is exhausting. We have several bills that have come through our legislature. They have been hacked to death. And unfortunately, as of 2 days ago, we're now at the point where the original sponsor of our anti-Common Core bill has reversed and is now no longer supporting his own bill because it has been so hacked up. I'm incredibly disappointed because we had great support in the Senate. We even had the House education leaders come over and support the bill in Senate hearings. And then once it got back to the House Education Committee, they destroyed it. There's been lots of money, lots of lobbying, thousands and thousands of dollars poured into reelection campaigns, and it's been an education in the ugly, dirty side of politics for me and for a lot
Meg,
of other people.
It's funny you say that because I think I'm well behind you in my involvement in getting active in this. So as put on my dad and parent title and listen to what you're saying, my advice to you would be, though, don't stop, because when you talk, you recharge me. And hopefully when, Tamara and I reach out and, we recharge you. And this isn't going to go away. This is absolutely going to continue. We're dealing with some of the same stuff. The subcommittee bills get killed here in Iowa. But we've got legislators that aren't going to stop, and I'm sure yours aren't either. So they're going to continue to hack and fight, because when you cage a lion, what do? They fight back, but they know they're cornered, and we're just going to continue to close in on them. So just continue the fight.
I can't give up. I can't turn away. I left my classroom to be a voice for these children, and I have to continue to do that. And if it's not through the political side, then we'll rally the parents. We'll get out there. I think right now we're really trying to spend the next 3 weeks really pushing parents to opt their children out. The data behind this really is the pot of gold. It's what all these big corporations want. They want their hands on all this personal information that belong to our children and our families, and the best way to destroy what they're trying to do is to not give it to them. And so we're really trying to encourage, and it's scary. The pushback has been tremendous. we really have awakened the sleeping giant, and they're pushing back, and they're not being nice about it.
They're not. And I'm so glad Scott was here today, because your words are absolutely right, Scott. We feed off of what each other are doing. And Meg, that's why I wanted you to call in today. But the more people hear about this, the more we're going to push back. The public is just learning about this. And I have people say to me all the time, I don't know anything about this. You weren't supposed to. You were bypassed as a people. Your students were bypassed. Only now that it's coming into the classroom, our parents learning about it. Legislators were bypassed. It was governors and departments of education, boards of education, bureaucrats, unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats who decided they knew better than parents, knew better than teachers, knew better than principals. And now if anybody's for this, it's usually principals or superintendents who think they're somehow going to get money from
money
this.
and money and positions, power. The corporate money behind it is really sickening, and I think that has been a lot of the draw for bigger name politicians is to have the Gates Foundation promise you X amount of money, and I think that's why we're not seeing the teachers unions come around. We're not seeing some of the big minority groups are not coming around. NAACP isn't coming around. 100 Black Men of America not coming around. They're all being supported by money through the Chamber of Commerce or money through Gates Foundation, Broad Foundation, those types of groups. That Walmart, the amount of money coming out of Walmart in the state of Arkansas is just dumbfounding, and taking a look at what your legislators are doing and where they're getting their money from is very helpful, because you know which ones that you can actually have a conversation with, and which ones are going to turn a deaf ear because their coffers have been filled by Michelle Rhee and Students First.
You're absolutely right, Megan. Denise Bubeck is here with us in studio, and she just handed me the Farm Bureau newspaper, and this is very concerning for Iowa. If you're a member of the Iowa Farm Bureau, you need to be calling your representatives and letting them know they're involved in the Common Core, and they're promoting the Common Core. And I haven't even read this article yet, but this is their newspaper, and so something you need to be calling as a local Farm Bureau member and telling them to back away from that Common Core, because you will lose local control. For them to say you have local control, and we know exactly what you're talking about, Meg. We sat in the gallery, was it Monday, and watched the beautiful theatrics done so well as representatives stood and interrupted the only one out there speaking truth, and then played off each other and said, but this isn't going to interrupt local control. And the other one stood and said, oh, no. And honestly, all this is local compliance.
Yeah.
It's not local control. It's local compliance. If the standards are set, you don't have control over what you're going to teach. And the whole braggery of this program is a national standard. So you will not have local control. You'll have local compliance.
Not only that, it is copyrighted by a private company. So even if parents start to figure it out and go to their local board of education and say, I don't like this, I don't like what's going on, nothing can be changed because it's copyrighted internationally by a privately held company. It's the first piece of public policy that has ever been privately copyrighted, and it's a crime. It is an attempt to turn our schools into training grounds.
You mentioned something, Meg, that I think is important for everybody listening to know too, though, is yes, you're absolutely right. When you go to your local school boards, Common Core is kind of a legislative issue, but they absolutely need to be aware of the stuff that's coming and what they can and can't do. Some of the No Child Left Behind, things that are tied to that I can tell in the Ankeny School District, we have to do this because we're behind, or we've been told that we have to get to this. We had a school board president who actually asked, well, what happens if we don't? And it was kind of a double talk answer. And then he said, but what happens if we don't? And again, it was kind of a stall. Well, we're going to do this and this. And he's like, no, you're not answering my question. What happens if we don't do this? And the answer actually came back, well, really nothing. So there is some things that you can do at a local level if you approach your school board and get them aware of what's happening and what they're asking and what they're doing. But sometimes what I see happening is the school board those are volunteers. They have full-time jobs. They do other things. And the superintendents and the curriculum directors are all going to these same brainwash sessions, is what I'm going to call, at the state level. And, they're coming back with these ideas and moving forward because they think this is the path that we have to go on, and we're mandated or we're guided, or these are the standards. So they pick up this language and they start doing things that move us down this core road. And the school board doesn't even know what's happening about it. So I would just say that to everybody who's listening: go talk to your school board and make them aware and educate them. And you could help them a ton by getting involved yourself and feeding them the information, because they're already doing their day job plus the school board job. Absolutely.
And I'm calling in from another state, so obviously our school boards operate a little bit differently. And I think from state to state it's going to be different.
Likely, yeah.
But one of the greatest things I have discovered is a movie that was just released for rental and purchase. It was being screened all over the country. It's called Standardized: Lies, Money, and Civil Rights: How Testing is Ruining Public Education. And it is one of the best summaries, and certainly one of the best hours you will spend for $5 learning about not only where this came from, but how horrible it is that these tests are being used in ways they were never meant to be used. We're using a test that was meant to measure knowledge of certain standards, and we've turned it around, and now we are ranking children by them. We are using them to evaluate teachers. We're using them to grade schools. The whole idea of school grades needs to be thrown out. The idea that a school full of low-income children has to work 10 times as hard to bring those children up to a certain level, and if they fail, then the school gets a failing grade. Meanwhile, you have schools in upper middle class areas that are doing extremely well and are getting A grades, and they're getting the schools that need the funding the most are being punished. And as far as funding goes, I wanted to jump back over to the opting out. A lot of schools tell their parents that they can't opt out because it'll affect the funding of the school, and it really won't.
Okay, Meg, hold on. I want to come back to that. We've got to go to a break.
Oh, okay.
But hold on to that. We'll come right back. I'm so glad you joined us today, and I'm so glad. It was just so fun talking with you last night online. Every time I talk with you, it just cracks me up. And so we'll be right back after these messages, everyone. Stay with us at webcast1live.com.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray, we're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
Hi, I am Tamara Scott. Thank you for joining us on Tamara Scott Live, Truth for Our Time. In studio, I have Scott Russell. He's actually here today with Trail Life USA. And if you'd like more information, you can just go to Trail Life USA, do a search on the website, and the local group, traillifeankeny.weebly, weebly.com. And for more information there. Meg Norris is on the phone with us as well. Both Scott and Meg have been dealing with the Common Core issue. Denise Bubeck is here as backup in studio, and you have no idea how much I appreciate that. But I appreciate being able to talk with Meg and Scott. I also want to update you on this. Over 30 states have legislation to pull, reject, repeal, pause, stop, break contracts, one way or another, on Common Core, Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, or PARC. And I think that's the Partner Assessment Readiness for College and Career. And in fact, Joy Pullman just tweeted out, Paul Lundeen, chair of the State Board of Education, informed his colleagues Tuesday that he plans to ask them to vote next month on a resolution calling for the legislature to repeal the 2012 law that required Colorado to sign up with the multi-state testing group, PARC. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen. Meg, I had to interrupt you there. You were talking about students being able to transfer schools and being told they can't. Is that correct?
We were talking about opting out.
Okay.
And just encouraging parents not to, not to be tough, not to fall prey to the bullying actually that's happening so much from administrators and teachers. And we had a hearing in front of the House Ed Committee here last week, and there were 70 people who stood up to speak about the bill.
Wow.
And of those 70, there were maybe 8 to 10 of us who stood up against Common Core.
Oh, you're kidding.
They brought in people from all over the place, industry people. Google was in town doing all kinds of lobbying.
Maybe we should tell them all, like our legislators told us, out-of-state people don't count. We can really manage our own. So you could just discount 65 of their 70 people because they came from out of state. According to our legislators, that's what they did to us.
But I'm so pleased with that number that your legislature was still going forward. We had over 50-some people all there to speak against it. The only people who spoke for the Common Core in Iowa, Meg, are either Department of Education employees or lobbyists for public schools. So they're somehow directly or indirectly paid by taxpayer dollars.
Right. This was all the industry people.
They loaded the deck against you.
Yeah, they did. They brought them in. This was, and they brought in, 2 and 3 from each. They had school systems that allowed the teachers to take days off to come up on publicly funded school buses, which I think I had a little problem with.
I'm so glad to hear that. Meg, are you sure you're still an Obama supporter?
For my favorite conservative, you don't have to call me out.
I'm so sorry. I just love you so much.
It's such a bipartisan issue.
It is. It totally is.
On a national level, it really is very split. I work with people on both sides. Here in Georgia, as a red state, obviously, most of the people I work with are more on the conservative side. But it's about putting those disagreements aside.
Absolutely.
For the kids. And
absolutely.
I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that from legislators. I'm not seeing that from administrators. I'm not seeing the kids being put first. And I think that is the most frustrating piece of it.
On both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
I totally agree. And as you say, it seems to be these special interest groups that seem to be calling the shots. We have a great group of volunteers here in the state. I know you do too. We have people looking into how much money has come in, I think, through recovery.gov. One of our volunteers thinks that it was $54 million that went to the AEAs. Is that correct, Denise? $54 million to the AEAs, $56 million to the governor's office, 14 million to the Department of Education?
That's typically the answer. Follow the money.
Yeah.
Right? And we've got to shine the light on those issues, in my opinion. Follow the money, show why people are making decisions. And if it's just money-based, people get mad. And you only need 1% of society to make a difference because, Tamara, as we were talking earlier, 99% of the people are passive in nature. They're not going to get involved. You only need 1% and you can change the world. So we don't have to get that many. We just got to follow the money, shine a light on it, show that it's wrong, and 1% of the people get mad. We can take anything we want.
So Meg, Georgia, can I tell people about our text last night? It just cracked me up.
Sure.
They have the LOL, right? So laughed out loud.
Yeah.
I had text her back. I don't know if there's an acronym for choking. It cracked me up and it just caught me off guard. I was laughing so hard and I choked. I had just breathed wrong or something, but it was just, it caught me. She had been at the State House. You and I know the battle.
Right.
The cards are stacked against you. And she just said, I can't go back. I'm mad at them right now. We all totally know that. And for everyone out there listening, I don't care what state you live in. Call your legislator. It's not so big, so huge, so ominous, but the one who is over you, your representative, your state senator, call them, find out who it is. Most states have a legislative website where you can go on and do a search and find your legislator by your zip code. Let them know you are the parent. You want local control. And you will not have it. You cannot have it with Common Core. People who think you can simply don't understand it.
Yeah,
You are the voter.
And
I think if we start threatening their seats with our votes, and I have said this is the litmus test. If you are a supporter of Common Core, you will not get my vote. I don't care what letter's after your name. But if you can stand up and tell me that you are going to get rid of Common Core in my state, get rid of it in my classroom, and give authentic teaching back to the professionals, back to the teachers, you will have my vote. And you will have every vote that I can touch and persuade. But if you stand against these children, and I will make sure that you are not in office again. And I have a whole list of names already. So hopefully, that's going to be our next move.
Tamara, what we need is a pro. Who are the good guys on Common Core and who are the bad guys on Common Core? Like list on
I think
local control.
I think it's going to be pretty to do here in Iowa.
Yeah.
You probably have it there in Georgia. Don't you have a pretty good idea, Meg?
Oh, we do.
I think most states do.
We're putting together lists too.
I think there's just so many people in the public. So for those that are listening that don't know who your legislator is and think, oh my gosh, I don't even know who to ask. I don't want to look stupid. It wasn't that long ago before I didn't either. I was raising 2 young boys and I'm busy and I think, so you get to a point in life when it starts concerning you and then you care. So call your Capitol building, if nothing else, and just ask, hey, I live in this town. Who could I call to voice my opinion on X? So just ask the questions. People will gladly tell you, but don't be afraid if you don't even know who your legislator is.
And then be careful because they're telling you that we don't have the Common Core. We have the Iowa Core, or we have the Sunshine State Core, whatever they want to call them. It is the same thing in Iowa. The Department of Education has a PDF on their website that shows the 83 to 99% similarities. It is the same thing. You can't have partial. The standards will be the standards. We don't set them. The test will be aligned with them. And I think you all probably saw that Coleman came out. The SATs are already being realigned. This will affect and impact all students, no matter whether you homeschool or private school. If you want them to take the entrance exam to colleges, the tests that are required will be impacted. Meg, what else would you say to people out there across the country? Because this was not a battle you were looking to pick.
To get involved, to walk away from my chosen career took a lot of guts. But every day I see parents out here who who, like you said, had no idea who their representative even was 2-3 weeks ago, and who are doing their own research, who are on their computers and they're reading and they are availing themselves of the research that's out there on these standards, and what they're doing to our children, what they're doing especially to the young children, and what they're doing to our special needs kids, what they're doing to our gifted kids. The whole idea behind standardization is to make everyone the same, and our kids are not the same. And, if we wanted to create a workforce, then that would be fine. But we don't want that. We want our individual children. We want our scholars. We want our, we want our engineers. We want our farmers. We want everyone to be unique and to be able to chase the dreams that they're interested in chasing and to be prepared to do that. And that's not happening. And, I ask the moms, there was somebody said to me, a father will take a bullet for their child. And someone turned to them and said, yes, but a mother will kill. And I said, you know what? You are absolutely right. And not that we don't want dads in the fight, as well. But moms who are at home who may be looking for something to get involved with. It's so rewarding and so helpful. And even if it's just passing out flyers at the ballpark on Saturday afternoon, just letting other parents know, because this was brought in the dark of night. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew how horrible of an effect it was going to have on our children, and it needs to go away. And it's going to have to be the parents that make it happen.
You're absolutely right. The schools are either they've been bowled over. They're grasping, begging for the money that still comes with this through grants. We hear that the Department of Education is still applying for grants here in Iowa. So you're absolutely right. It has to be the parents. And if you don't feel like please don't leave it to the experts. They're why we're in the mess we're in. God has equipped you. He has called you by the children he's given you. And if you apply yourself, you will get the answers. It's that simple. Hebrews tells us that if you ask for wisdom, he'll give it to you in plenty. So I think that he'll align your steps if you pray about it. I really do. And so there are certainly people in every state. Get on Facebook. Do a Stop Common Core in, and every state's going to pop up, and you can find your state. Some of them have Californians against Common Core, but you'll find it. If you do a search on Facebook, you'll find your group. Many of them have websites. Scott, what would you like to say the last minute?
Troop 19, open house for Trail Life, March 24th, 7 p.m. to shift gears. But then, Meg, I would like to say thank you for having your letter go viral that you wrote. I just was a dad in Iowa that I read, and it made the circle of the people that are just on the fringes, I think, and trying to make a difference here. So having us hear that a teacher said what you said and stood up again, it motivated us. So you might feel beat down and worn out, but you gave us tons of energy that sustained us for 90 plus days. So hearing your voice again just re-motivates me. So thank you.
Oh, and thank you to both of you too, because this re-energizes me, because you get to a point where you say, oh, I just can't do it anymore. I can't go out and speak to another group of parents. I just can't. And I am re-energized, and I appreciate that. You are both blessings, and I'm very, very grateful.
Meg, we are just so pleased to, just meet you, get to talk to you. I look forward to someday I get to meet you in person, because you are that buddy on Facebook that just always brightens my day, even when we're talking about the darkest of subjects, whether it's Common Core, whether it's special needs kids, whether it's the poverty that's so prevalent with our kids today. But thank you for the heart of compassion that you show for your neighbors. I appreciate that. And to all of our listeners out there, that's all it takes. We all want the world to be better. We'd love peace on earth, but we don't have peace across the dining room table. It starts at home. It starts in your neighborhoods, like Scott and Meg have both said. Talk to your friends, whether it's at church, book club, ball games. That's all it takes. You don't have to be abrasive. You don't have to take fighting words, but take the truth Give them pamphlets. There are great pamphlets out there. Concerned Women for America, if you go to that website, has a brochure on the Common Core talking about the laws that are broken through the Common Core by this nationalized standard. There are a lot of names, acronyms, phrases that are unfamiliar to people. Don't let those frighten you. Say to someone, what does that mean? What does that stand for? Make them explain it to you. But you have a right to know. You have a responsibility to find out. These are your children, the most precious thing that God's given you and the only thing that you can take to heaven with you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
I am Tamara Scott.
Thank
It's
you.
Truth for Our Time. Be encouraged, but never be complacent.